Let's talk about solvency. Let's talk about herbal remedies. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things with tincturing. Let's talk about plants. Let's talk about herbs. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about herbs. Herbies?
Yeah.
All the herbies.
Yeah.
Louder now. Help me out. Come on now. All the herbies. Let's talk about herbs.
All right.
Hey y'all, it's Mary Blue. Welcome to my webinar on my foundational elements of herbalism. I'm breaking this up into 4 parts. The first one being the concept of solvency, which I correlate with the element of fire. The second concept being herbal actions, which I correlate with the element of air. The third concept being body systems, which I correlate with the element water. And the fourth concept being nutritional healing, which I correlate with the element earth. And I will go into each of these concepts, why I correlate them with elements, and the specific integral parts of these concepts that make up a good foundational herbal practice, whether it's for you personally or if you do want to be working with clients. These foundational concepts will help you be a better medicine maker, help you pick which herbs are best, and take the information within herbalism, the magnitude of concepts, and help you categorize these subjects into your brain. I wanted to introduce the first concept of this webinar, the concept of solvency or solubility, the dissolvability of your herb. The concept involves the understanding that you need some sort of medium, usually a liquid, to dissolve the constituents of the herbs. This concept is really important when making herbal medicine. And a lot of these methods are traditional methods handed down from family to family, from cultures all over the world, tried and true and tested. And it's really important to look at culture and history and traditions, to look at what formulas they are using and what extraction methods they are using. And it's really amazing that now we have science to back up these traditions. And we can look under the microscope and we can see the molecules that are attracted to each other or deflected from each other. And we see real reactions in our herbal medicine making when we use extraction methods that break down the constituents that are therapeutic. So our main extraction methods we'll be working with are water, as in a tea, a decoction, or a syrup, alcohol, as in a tincture, a lipid, as in a infused oil or a salve, and a sugar, as in a tincture or a glycerin. And the commonality between all of these extraction methods are their elements. They all contain nitrogen, carbon, and oxygen. And depending on how these are arranged, they will attract constituents or deflect constituents. The first one, the solvency concept, I like to correlate with fire because fire makes heat. And when you're thinking about solvency and dissolving, heat dissolves many different types of constituents into the medium or the liquid that you're using. On page 87 of my Herbal Foundations book, I have a chart of common herbal constituents, solvents, and their best extraction methods. So you'll notice in the solubility chart, pretty much heat is going to be in almost all of these methods. There are a few that actually have cold water listed as the best method. And generally we're going to find that our chemical constituent called a polysaccharide or a glycoside, both meaning they have sugars in them, that the cold water is best used to extract these sugars. They basically bind up the sugars, making them available in our water. At this point in understanding solvency, you need to become familiar with some of the really common chemical constituents that are active therapeutically. So we see our volatile oils, we see our resins, we see vitamins and minerals, we see lipids and glycosides and polysaccharides. You know, when I first started studying about herbalism, it was really overwhelming to try and remember every single herb and their constituent and what's the best extraction method. Now I tell my students to remember that there is a process to figuring out what the best extraction method is. And in the beginning, you're not going to remember every single constituent, but at least you know that you can look it up. You can understand that not every herbal constituent is going to be dissolvable in alcohol or water or oil. I will be offering a 4-week expansion on this class in January where we will go deeper into these chemical constituents. And I made this chart originally because there was a local doctor that was really interested in using herbs for his patients. And he kept emailing me and saying, can I tincture this? Can I tincture that? And he kept wanting to tincture herbs that were really best used in water. And for those of you who don't know, a tincture is typically made with alcohol, and there's not every herbal constituent is alcohol soluble. So I decided, let me just list these common herbal constituents that I see over and over again. Let's list our soluble mediums, meaning the liquids used to dissolve these constituents, and then list our best extraction methods. And I came up with this list. It's now part of my medicine making chapter in my Herbal Foundations. The first extraction method I'm going to go over is water, or commonly known as H2O, which is 2 hydrogen molecules and an oxygen molecule. This particular arrangement attracts vitamins and minerals, loves getting lots of nutrients. So if we look at our water-based extractions, we will find that our infusions or teas are best for ingesting vitamins and minerals. So generally, I'm going to be using water-based extractions, also known as teas or infusions or decoctions or syrups, when I want to extract these vitamins and minerals. And vitamins and minerals are best used therapeutically when you're working to nourish any tissue, any organs, any part of the body. When you want to build bones, when you want to build skin, hair, nails. Herbs like nettle, alfalfa, dandelion, horsetail. And the best way to get these vitamins and minerals in the body is through using heat and making an infusion. An infusion is a tea, just steeped longer. You steep it minimum a half an hour, maximum 8 hours. The longer you let it steep, the more vitamins and minerals you will get out of it. A therapeutic daily dose is 4 cups a day, about 1 tablespoon of nourishing high vitamin and mineral herb. The next water-based extraction is called a decoction. Decoction is made with bark, root, berries, and seed. These parts of the plants need a higher heat to extract these constituents. Generally, we're always keeping a lid on all of our extractions because we don't want all of the volatile oils to be simmered off. Volatile oils are constituents that are heat soluble, they're water soluble, and they're alcohol soluble. They are extremely therapeutic. They can be antimicrobial, antiseptic, antifungal, anti-inflammatory. Some of our highest volatile oil herbs are peppermints, catnip, anise hyssop, some of our favorite herbs like lavender and rose. These volatile oils are used in aromatherapy. They affect the nervous system. They affect the circulatory system. They're extremely therapeutic, and the volatile oils are volatile, so they will dissipate when heat is added to them. So make sure you put a lid on your extraction. The next water-based extraction we'll look at are syrups, and syrups are basically a decoction, roots, barks, seeds simmered on low heat for about 20 to 40 minutes with a lid on. Then you strain out the herbs and you're going to add honey to preserve it. Moving up from water-based extractions, we are going to look at alcohol-based extractions. Most alcohol-based extractions, also known as tinctures, are made with a combination of pure grain alcohol, ethanol, and water. And depending on the specific plant, there might be a ratio of 50% alcohol, 50% water. Some plants are 75% alcohol, 25% water. Because these are concentrates, the dosage is much lower than an infusion. An infusion is 4 cups a day. A tincture for standard dose is 2 squirts 3 times a day. That's about 60 drops per day. And common constituents that are soluble in alcohol are volatile oils, alkaloids, acids, and resins. The next extraction method we're going to talk about that is commonly also referred to as a tincture is called a glycerite. And glycerites are made with vegetable glycerin, which is a byproduct from making palm oil. It's a pure form of plant sugar. And simply put, sugar is not a solvent. Sugar may dissolve other sugars in plants, but it does not break down chemical or herbal constituents. So when I make a glycerite, I am always using heat. I'll put my herbs in a double boiler and I macerate and blend them. And I also only use fresh herbs for my glycerin extracts. Because when heated, fresh herbs will release more chemical constituents and volatile oils into the sugar. And here's another example of when heat and fire is used to improve on our extraction methods. The next solvent I would like to talk about is called a lipid, also known as a fat or an oil. These are used in making infused oils and salves. And just like the vegetable glycerin, fat is not a solvent. So it's really important when working with oils to heat them up and use that fire, that heat element, to extract those constituents. So I'm always using a double boiler or a crock pot when I'm making my infused oils. So there we have it, our 4 commonly used extraction methods or solvents. We have our water, we have alcohol, we have our lipids, our oil, and we have our sugars, the vegetable glycerin. And one last, not as commonly used extraction method is using vinegar. Vinegar is usually used as similarly to water with extracting vitamins and minerals from herbs. It is also commonly used as a preservative to preserve roots and leaves. And now to move on to the second part of our foundational elements of herbalism, we will be looking at herbal actions. And I like to correlate the herbal actions with the element air because herbal actions are ideas and theories. Herbal actions are terms that are used to describe what the herb does. Some of these actions correlate with specific constituents that cause a response in the body. But some of the actions are terminology that is borrowed from allopathic medicine or Western medicine. Terms like diuretic or diaphoretic or analgesic are commonly used to describe what the herb does. My foundational actions, meaning my actions that I put into almost every single herbal formula that I make, are tonics, which are herbs that are safe to be taken every day and generally are going to nourish the body. A lot of them are high in vitamins and minerals, and they're going to restore the health of the body over time. They also will help prevent disease and generally nourish and tone whatever body system they have an affinity for. My next foundational action is a NERVINE, and the term NERVINE refers to the nervous system. When I first started studying herbalism, I thought all nervines were sedatives, like valerian. But now, over the years, I've come to understand that nervines have a range of actions on the nervous system. Some nervines are tonic nervines, meaning they're going to nourish the nervous system and heal the tissue. Some nervines are calming nervines, which means they're just, good for stress, not necessarily going to be putting you to sleep. Other nervines are called analgesic nervines, which mean they relieve pain. They go straight to the nerve endings and relieve pain. We also have our sedative nervines, ones that are going to put you to sleep, be muscle relaxers. A lot of times these will be used for cramps or for pain. We also have our adaptogenic nervines, nervines that nourish the nervous system but also work to balance the whole endocrine system. And on the other end of the spectrum, we have our stimulating nervines, ones that are going to stimulate the nervous system and give you lots of energy, and people generally are going to use these for mental focus. The next of my foundational actions is adaptogens. I mentioned just a minute ago about adaptogenic nervines. The term adaptogen was coined by a Russian scientist in the late 40s. And he came up with this term to describe the herb's actions because he noticed there was a class of herbs that had 3 specific characteristics. 1, they don't cause any damage to the body. 2, they increase the body's resistance to adverse influences and stress. That's the big thing here. And they also have a normalizing effect on the body. At this point, we've learned a lot about adaptogens, and we can say that generally adaptogens are going to help the body adapt to stress. That said, what causes stress? What body systems regulate our stress response? 1, it's the adrenals, and 2, it's the nervous system. So generally, adaptogens are going to have an effect on both of those systems together. We see a lot of bodybuilders and athletes use adaptogens because adaptogens help our tissue repair quicker. We see a lot of folks benefit from adaptogens if they lead a high-stress lifestyle. We see a lot of adaptogens being researched for immune support and cancer support because the immune system is so closely related to the endocrine system and is greatly affected by stress. And adaptogens have to be used every day to have best results. The last foundational action I'm going to talk about are alteratives. Alteratives are also known as depuratives and blood cleansers. But what does blood cleansers mean? How do you clean the blood? I always ask myself that question, and the answer is that alteratives help support the eliminatory organs, the kidneys, the liver, urinary, and they help clear out toxins from the body. And the end result of this is that they support the functioning of other body systems that rely on the eliminatory organs to cleanse toxins and extra hormones. So they're supporting the endocrine system, they're supporting the immune system, they're supporting basically the whole body. So these alteratives are really, really important because we live in a pretty toxic world and such a high stress world. So I like using these 4 actions in combination in most of my formulas. All of these actions need to be used every day for best results. And the cool thing is herbs have more than one action. So you can find an herb that is a tonic, an alterative, a nervine, an adaptogen, and find one herb that has a bunch of different actions on the body. And you can pick which body systems you want to support through picking your actions. The next foundational element of herbalism I want to introduce are body systems. And body systems are, anatomy and physiology, don't necessarily have to do with herbalism, but I have found to understand how the herbs work and how the actions work, I have had to learn anatomy. And I like to correlate the element of water with body systems because the body is 90% water. And my perspective, an herbalist perspective, is that the body works as a whole. So I'm never really looking to just support one body system with herbs. I'm really always going to nourish, tone, and strengthen the whole body. And that's, again, where my foundational actions come in. The combination of those 4 actions will really support the whole body. One of the most complicated body systems that I had to learn was the endocrine system. The endocrine system controls an immense number, 80% of our bodily functions. All of our fluid production, our temperature regulation, our metabolism, sleep, mood, your reproductive organs. There's so many different functions of the endocrine system. The endocrine system consists of 9 different glands throughout your body, 3 of them that are in your brain that start this cascade of hormones that kind of tell each other what to do. I like to explain the endocrine system as a complicated game of telephone. One hormone tells another hormone, tells another hormone, stimulates another hormone, stimulates another gland to function properly. And what happens in a game of telephone, unless those messages are crystal clear, the messaging becomes disrupted. And we see this a lot in the endocrine system because of all of the endocrine disruptor chemicals that are added to our food and plastics, like BPA. These chemicals are known to disrupt this messaging. So we see a lot of issues with people, thyroid dysfunction and reproductive issues. Another big disruptor of the endocrine system is cortisol and adrenaline. This is our stress response. It sort of floods the whole system and wakes everybody up like a fire alarm. And if someone has repeated stress this adrenaline and cortisol is running through the bloodstream all the time, it's going to disrupt all of the other endocrine system functioning. So long-term chronic stress will lead to all sorts of endocrine system issues. The next body system I want to talk about is the digestive system. The digestive system is so important to so many different bodily functions because it gives us all our nourishment. If our digestive system is not functioning properly, the rest of our body isn't nourished. And we don't produce serotonin for our brain. Our immune system is related to the digestive system as well. And so is our nervous system. You know that old saying about butterflies in the stomach? That is because the nervous system has a huge part in the functioning of the digestive system. And we will see digestive system disruption when someone is nervous. It's because their nerves are tensing up and their digestive system tenses up, and you might get nausea, diarrhea, cramping because of stress or anxiety. Scientists are now calling the digestive system the second immune system or the second brain because of its functions. And a lot of what's happening in the digestive system is, one, yes, we're obviously going to be breaking down food and absorbing it into our bloodstream. But the second thing is a lot of bacteria production. And this bacteria has a big effect on how our body functions. And this is where, as herbalists, we have a lot of strength in herbs. We have herbs that will reduce inflammation. We have herbs that are prebiotics, which help promote bacteria strength. We have herbs that will dispel gas. We have herbs that will help kill harmful bacteria. And through supporting digestive function, we can prevent disease and restore balance to the body. And the last concept I want to introduce related to digestion is nutritional healing. I like to correlate the element earth with nutritional healing because our food comes from the earth. I have found that a good herbal protocol is only as good as the person's nutritional habits. If a person is eating inflammatory foods or fast foods or foods that are going to cause disease, herbs really can't keep up with healing that if the person is continually doing that. And so the goal is to create a disease-free environment, which means creating a scenario or a situation in your body where disease cannot thrive. And the first foundational element of nutritional healing is gut flora, promoting healthy digestive flora so that your immune system can function properly, your endocrine system can function properly, and your digestive system functions properly. This is commonly referred to as the microbiome. And when this digestive flora is off, or the microbiome is off, you see a lot of issues related to other parts of the body besides the digestive system. You'll see digestive system upset as well, Crohn's disease, IBD, all of these really common digestive upsets. But we also see a lot that comes out in the skin. You see psoriasis, you see eczema, you'll see fatigue, brain fog, you see reproductive issues, sleep issues. All of these things that are so closely related to the endocrine system. So this microbiome can throw off the endocrine system messaging as well. A few different ways to support your microbiome or your gut flora is to eat fermented foods with live bacteria, sauerkraut, yogurt, miso. Also to use herbs that are prebiotics. Generally there's a constituent called inulin on burdock and dandelion root that helps promote the production of healthy gut flora. The next concept to consider when you're thinking about nutritional healing is acid-alkaline balance, which I believe is closely related to the blood type diet. It is widely believed in the natural health community that an acidic diet causes more disease. So acidity is caused by sugars and high fructose corn syrup and lots of different types of inflammatory foods. And the concept of the blood type diet was introduced by Dr. Adamo, and his philosophy is that our blood types have evolved over centuries. And depending on your blood type, that this affects your digestion. Meaning the oldest blood type, the type O, is known to be the hunter-gatherer blood type. These types of people have a lot of acid in their digestive system, meaning that they can break down fats a lot better than someone who doesn't have a lot of acid in their digestive system. So as the human species evolved and became more agrarian or farming cultures, the digestive systems evolved and became less acidic. So we see type A, type B, type AB, and these are folks that aren't going to be doing as well with the high fatty diet. Those are folks that have low stomach acid, so they're going to do better on grains and a vegetarian diet. So in order to create these wonderful alkaline conditions for your body, it's important to think about blood type and what type of stomach you have. Do you have high acid stomach? Do you have low acid stomach? Because this will dictate how your food is digested, how your microbiome functions, and whether or not disease can thrive in your body. And the end result of a digestive system that is not able to digest fat or grains is a more acidic environment where disease can flourish and pathogens can flourish. So the end result of this is that people who are type O, who are eating grains, are creating a more acidic environment. People that are type A or AB, who eat lots of fats, like meat, are creating a more acidic environment. The last concept I want to introduce related to nutritional healing is looking at inflammatory foods. These are foods that cause an inflammatory response in the body. Foods like sugar, wheat, dairy, alcohol, coffee are all known to have an inflammatory response. Does this mean that you should never drink coffee or have dairy? No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that if you have an inflammatory condition or an inflammatory disease, that these foods are only going to cause more inflammation in the body. So in general, if I am working to restore balance in the body, I recommend that people cut out these inflammatory foods while they're trying to heal. Thanks so much for listening to this introductory webinar about my foundational elements of herbalism. I will be offering an expansion on this webinar in January, and you can follow the link in the description of this to sign up for that.
Herbies,
Yeah.
all the herbies.
Yeah.
Louder now, help me out. Come on now, all the herbies. Let's talk about herbs.
All right.
Hey y'all, it's Mary Blue. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. I wanted to let you know how to enter to win a spot in my Herbal Foundations online certificate program. I am giving away 10 spots. So all you have to do is be one of the first 100 people to sign up for section 1 at the discounted price I'm offering today. So it is usually $200 for my section 1. I'm offering it for $100, and the first 100 people to sign up will be entered, and 10 of those 100 people will get a free spot in my Herbal Foundations online certificate program, which is worth $1,000. So thanks and good luck. Have a great day.